All right,
Yeah, so
here we go. So welcome to the first ever and maybe the only ever open mic comedy event for Eastern Maine Community College. Karen McGrady shows up right on time. We were just talking about her. Whew, perfect. So it's an open mic event. So what that means is that anybody who wants to participate can, get up, come up to the stage and tell a joke. Of course, we're on Zoom. So if you do want to tell a joke, you just want to write it in the comments. Joey will be monitoring the comments, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a one-liner type of joke. It can be a longer form joke. It can be a joke that you heard from somebody. So that's like a street joke, the kind of jokes that we just share in passing around the water cooler. It could be one of those. It could be a funny story, something that you've personally experienced. And we're asking that because there's so many of us that we keep it, each person who has the floor keeps it under 5 minutes, that there is a $50 Amazon gift card that we're going to be giving away. Good news, Kylie, that gift card has to go to a student. So don't go anywhere, Kylie. Second rule, it's got to be original content. So when you tell a joke, Kylie, and hopefully you want to, it should be something original. Now, you don't have to tell original jokes, but we figured that the winner for the prize should be some kind of original funny story or a joke that they've written. So Kylie, now get out some pen and paper, start writing. So I think it'd be best if everybody, when we get to the jokes, if everybody's got their volume on, right? Ideally, unless you've got some noise in the background so we can hear people laugh. The judges. Okay. I want there to be 3. We may not need the judges if we only have Kylie as the only student. If we get more students, then we are going to have 3 judges, right? That's going to be Joey, myself, and then I was hoping one of the other faculty or staff would volunteer to be a judge. And then if need be, we'll go to a breakout room and the 3 of us will discuss and pick a winner. Not Karen. It's not going to be Karen. Nope. Okay. So, nobody has written in the comments yet that they're ready to go. So when I opened up on when I do comedy on stage, and of course I don't do it anymore, but back when I was doing it, I would always open, you need to open with a joke that you know is going to get a laugh. And my opener was always like, who's drinking? And of course, if you're performing at like a club or whatever, there's always somebody, people are drinking. In fact, you don't want them to be like wasted, but you do want them to have, maybe be in just getting into the buzz stage or a little bit looser that way. And everybody always screams and hoots and hollers. And I'll always say, if you're going to drink and drive, make sure you drive somebody else's car. Never wreck your own car, right? That was always my opener because it gets a laugh. And then usually you can see the front row, depending on the club. Sometimes you can't see anybody, but you could see somebody in the front and be like, what are you drinking, sir? And I'm always looking for somebody drinking yellow beer. And he's like, oh, it's a Bud Light. And I'd be like, oh, I can't drink Bud Light because I have taste buds. Boom. So I'm already, and he could have said Coors Light, Mick Light. It doesn't even matter what he says. I just know that half the crowd loves Bud Light, half the crowd doesn't love Bud Light. It's like politics. You're going to get a laugh out of half of them. Okay. Kylie hasn't written that she's ready to tell a joke yet. Yeah, all right, I'll tell you guys a funny story then. You have to listen to me talk some more. So when I was in college, I did ROTC, and because I had an ROTC scholarship, the plan was to be an Army officer for life. And, obviously that didn't work out, but you got to go to these summer camps. And in between your junior and senior year, you go to a camp where you get evaluated on your leadership skills. And it's like 30 people in your building. It's men, it's women, and you rotate through leadership positions. So in my squad, it's alphabetized. So there was this kid, Luis Rodriguez Vidal. Okay, he was my battle buddy. He was tiny. I don't even know if he was tall enough to be in the Army, but he's this tiny little guy. He was from Puerto Rico, and he was my battle buddy, and he would volunteer us for everything. It'd be like, we need somebody to clean the outhouse. And Luis would put his hand up and I would be like, you son of a gun, don't do this. Okay. So as part of our training and evaluation, we would go and do field exercises. And the big one was like this, like 5-day, 5-night trek through in and around Mount Rainier, in the shadow of Mount Rainier. You've never been, it's beautiful. It's August. And of course that means in the shadow of Mount Rainier, it gets freezing at night. So the very first night, Luis and I were maybe not quite ready for the cold. And so what we did was we dug a hole that was 6 inches deep and just wide enough for 2 people to lay down and just long enough for both of us. And Luis and I, we spooned under a poncho because we had to. Okay, not because we wanted to, but because we had to. Oh, somebody else joining? Or somebody got an email, that's what it was. So, all right, I mean, I haven't said anything funny yet. So at night, you had to, you know, because it was all war games, you know, you had to pretend you were in a war zone. So at night you couldn't just have everybody go to sleep. Somebody had to stay awake. You had to have like guard duty and rotating guards and all this. And I told you guys before, you always volunteer to write the guard duty list, because then you can put yourself first or last and you get uninterrupted sleep. Well, I did not know this at the time. And as such, I had to do like the 1:45 to 2 a.m. shift. And so what happens is at 1:45, the other guy taps you on the shoulder. So you get up, you put all your gear on, get out of your sleeping bag, and then you sit there and you do guard duty. Now, we were fortunate in this night that we only had to have one person. Normally you have to have like 10%, but we were told by the cadre, the people running the exercise, you only had to have one person on duty at a time. And that was their way of telling us, nothing's going to happen to you guys tonight. Go ahead and get some sleep. You just need one person awake to make sure nobody gets attacked by a bear, right? In the shadow of Mount Rainier. So I'm doing my shift and I'm just sitting on a log. I'm just killing time. And then I woke up at like 5 a.m. face down in a pile of wet leaves. And so I sit up and my face is covered in wet leaves and I shake off the sleep and I look at my watch and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't wake up the next person. Well, here's the thing. Nobody else was awake. Everybody else was passed out. So I look at the roster and I know who's supposed to be up at like, 5:30. So I go over and I tap them on the shoulder to wake them up. And they were like, I lied. I told everybody that I stayed awake the whole time so that they could all get some sleep. And I never got caught. Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, man. I got another one. Okay. So it's that same summer. It's that same camp. And we're going to an obstacle course. Now, you have to understand that in my squad, one of the guys in my squad was Cadet Stephen Tronosky, who was going to school in New Jersey. And Stephen's dream job in the military was to run the PX, which is effectively like Walmart on a military base. So they sell a little bit of everything. You can go to the PX, the post exchange, and you can buy your needs, and they always have like a barbershop and a laundromat and all that jazz too. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to run one of those. So he was not cut out to be like infantry. He was not cut out for obstacle courses. He was not cut out for any of that hardcore stuff. So we're doing the obstacle course, and it involves climbing a ladder like 10 feet up and then walking over a log that's 10 feet up in the air, and it's a big log. And as he's walking over it, the rest of us, by the way, have already cleared the obstacle. We're now waiting on him. He's always going to be holding us back. We hear a scream as loud as I've ever heard a man scream, because Stephen has fallen, okay, and landed on the team. And he is now crying because he has really hurt himself. Okay. Now, what I haven't told you yet is that this obstacle course is being run by Army Rangers, which are just about as gung-ho high speed as the Army gets. This is supposed to be a very motivating, fun type of day. These Army Rangers, we all want to impress them because these are the kind of soldiers that we all want to be. And this Army Ranger, who happens to be running our squad through the obstacle course, is now yelling at Stephen Tronosky to get off of his obstacle. But Stephen has now leaned forward and is hugging the log. and is crying. So eventually we coax Stephen down by getting to kind of rotate sideways on the log and then fall, and the rest of us caught him. And he refused to give up. He limped the rest of the way. And then later that night in the barracks, Stephen tapped me on the shoulder and wanted to, he asked if I would go to the bathroom with him and look at his team, because he wanted to know if he should go see a medic. And the details for that are not for this crowd, but yes, the answer was yes. He needed to go see a medic. So that was in between my junior and senior. Eventually I made it active duty military, and I was stationed at Fort Drum, and I went into a local Applebee's for dinner one night, and who's sitting at the bar but Stephen Chernosky. And he was the only person on base that I knew. And so we would hang out. And what was he doing? He was he was not running the exchange. He was a medical platoon leader for an infantry battalion that would walk into battle. They were light infantry. So it's about as hardcore a position as he probably could have been assigned to. Yeah. Okay, someone else. Tell us a funny story. Karen, you got some. Come on. Kylie, you ready to earn your $50? By the way, Kylie, you don't have to. There's no, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Kylie, I tell you, this is the crowd to try it in front of, because
Absolutely.
there's really no judgment going on here.
Well, I guess I have a joke, but I only remember, it's only one off the top of my head because I told it to my parents the other day, but it's not appropriate, I should say, so.
Well, we, try to make it as family friendly as possible.
That
Oh my God, wait a minute.
Give her the $50 now, right now. She won. You're one. That was awesome.
This is definitely the last ever comedy open mic we're doing. I don't have to run these anymore.
You know what I could do, Jeremy? I'll just cut out the punchline and we'll keep all of us laughing. How's that sound?
There you go. Yeah.
We'll fix it in post. Don't
Okay,
worry.
Kylie, funny, but not appropriate.
That's a good joke, though, I will say.
thank
I
you. It's,
props to you.
Yes, and definitely trust your judgment next time. You.
Karen's a grandmother. Come on.
Oh yeah, oops, sorry.
No, he means that I've heard everything. It's okay.
It was the only one I could think of off the top of my head.
Not an original though. We need original.
So I can't give you a good joke, but I'm going to show you something out my window. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Is it just the city you live in general? We're going to laugh at Brewer. I'm in.
Hopefully you can see it.
Is it the snow?
Wait,
Can you see the turkeys?
are those turkeys? I was
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
they're turkeys.
holy moly, Karen.
One day there were 50. I counted them.
Did you know that you were in like Turkey Run there? Like, you have any idea?
No, I didn't know I was in Turkey land. No.
Wow.
But
Well,
they go between here and the woods and our neighbor's house, and they come out every weekend when I'm here. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
You gonna name them now? That way you'll never.
No naming.
No, you're gonna eat them.
oh, I've got a funny story. I've got a funny story about turkeys. Ready? That inspired me, Karen. So this really isn't a joke, but it's just a funny story, a real thing that happened in my hometown. So Gloucester, Mass is a little island off the coast of northern Massachusetts, right? And there's a lot of rural area, right? It's not like a super busy town. There's woods and all that. And where I grew up is called West Gloucester. And so it's an old farm area. And there's lots of turkeys, lots of deer, all that kind of stuff. And so in the police notes one day, because in small towns, right, police notes are like the, locus of everything that happens. There's this report. This was back when I was in high school. There was a report. Somebody had called in because they had spotted a turkey that was running around with an arrow through it, right? And so that started this, like, it was like 6 or 7 months of the animal patrol people in Gloucester trying to find the turkey that had an arrow stuck in it that was just living its life. Like literally it was just with its flock. So somebody had obviously tried to catch it and it wasn't successful, but that turkey lived absolutely fine for about 6, 7 months. And then eventually they did find him. And at one point in time, I did spot him. He was on the way to Wingersheek Beach and you could see through the woods. You could just see like turkeys and then this turkey kind of like limping around with a big old stick sticking out of the side of him. And you think like, wow, turkeys really are dumb birds, right? That's my story, but pretty funny story, right? You don't always see turkeys walking around with arrows stuck in the sides of them. And it was really the like how big of a deal it was in my town. That's kind of the funny part, right? Like people would always be calling in, the police notes, they'd always have something in there about, the turkey with the arrow was spotted on, Harrison Ave at 4:30 on Saturday. Oh, it was quite the drama.
This is going to be your life now, Karen.
I'll be sure to send reports weekly about my turkeys.
Once you're out of EMCC though, no more contact. It's over.
Oh yeah, you don't want to hear from me ever again.
You're dead to Jeremy. You announce you leave and he cuts you off.
I'm
Throwing your
just gonna
plants in the
Zoom
dumpster.
bomb. I'll Zoom bomb you every so often.
I'm putting your plants in the dumpster. Hey, the mighty doors. That's what I'm talking about. Pounding a dew. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jeremy just confessed to a crime that he hasn't committed yet, so we'll keep watching for it.
I did confess. This is true, and it's funny to me. I was on the debate team in high school, but not because I wanted to be, just because I needed a thing to like bump up my resume. I mean,
Yeah.
in hindsight, I chose UMaine, so probably unnecessary. But, so I was on the debate team, but I would never prep for the debates. So what I would do was I would make up quotes from famous people, like I'd be like, according to Dr. Brian Dorr, this is what's going on, right? And I would just make up shit for the debate, and nobody could call me on my BS in the middle of a debate. The internet wasn't a thing then. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I would do that. Unethical. I don't know if it's a crime, maybe. I didn't really win debates either.
As long as you didn't win, I think you're okay, right?
Probably a cute girl on the team I wanted to hang out.
There you go. I was thinking back to Tasha's story. There's some guy who told his friends, I got that turkey. I hit him.
Right?
And they're like, no, there's no turkey. You didn't
Right.
get him. But yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's going to be one of those stories, right? That I'm sure whoever it was that ended up shooting that arrow through that turkey is just, in their own mind, they are just famous, right? But it is still something. I mean, this happened when I was in high school and I graduated over 20 years ago. So, and people still talk about it. So that's, Brian, I don't know if you were here. I just told a quick story about how there was a turkey in my hometown that lived with an arrow stuck through it for months and months and months. And it was this big Gloucester drama with the police station and people calling in, spotting the arrow with the arrow, the turkey with the arrow. So yeah. Yeah,
Well,
it's definitely a story.
Local news stories are always something else. Okay, I'll tell you guys the first joke I ever wrote. It's like a 3-minute joke, but it's the first one I ever wrote, and I'm pretty proud of this. And it's mostly based off of a true story. So after you hear it, you feel like that really happened. I feel like most of that really happened. So do you guys remember going to your first ever school dance?
Oh yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they still do school dances, but I mean, geez, I went to a lot of them. And I remember going to my first ever school dance. I think I was in 7th grade. My father was driving me to the dance. And this is like it's a big kind of father-son moment. It's the first time I'm gonna like go to a dance and dance with a girl. And he knows this, right? So he knows that it's a bit awkward. And I was expecting him to like talk a lot, but he wasn't. He was being quiet. And as we sat and rode there in silence, I think, oh no, like we're gonna have like a real father-son talk. And so now I don't want that to happen. And we kept driving, and finally he broke his silence. And he looks at me and he goes, hey, do you need any condoms? And I said, what? No, Dad, I'm not from Brewer. Come on. That's not how this goes. And he goes, I'm just kidding about the condoms. For real though. Do you know how to approach a girl to talk to her? And I says, well, I think I'm just gonna go over and say hi. And he said, nope, that's not good enough. You listen now, you should write this down. I'm gonna give you some great advice. He goes, first thing, you need to scan the room and you need to find a girl that's all alone because that means she's vulnerable. Yeah. 2, check your breath, check your collar, make sure your zipper's up, be confident, stand up straight, walk over to her. Okay. And say hi. I'm trying to, I haven't told this in forever, so I'm trying to remember it. I said, okay. Then he says, do you know how to ask a girl how to dance? And I said, oh man, I've told this joke a million times. Why am I not remember it? Do you know how to ask a girl how to dance? And I said, well, I think I'm just going to ask, do you want to dance? And he goes, yeah. Wait. Oh, no, okay, back it up. So he tells me, check your zipper, check your collar, walk over, go say hi, and make sure she's alone because she's vulnerable. And then you say to her, hey, I'm not the best looking guy here right now, but I am the only one talking to you right now. So I said, Dad, that's horrible advice. That would never work on any woman. And he said, that's how I met your mother. So there's that, right? So he goes, now that you've approached her, you have to ask her to dance. Do you know how to ask a girl how to dance? And I said, well, I'll probably just say, would you like to dance? And he said, oh, that's good. It's short, it's nice, but what are you going to do if she says no? Do you have a plan for that? And I said, no, I don't have a plan for that. I'll ask another girl. He goes, if you ask a girl to dance and she says no, you tell her that's okay. I had to go take a poop anyway. And then you walk away. Okay. Like I told you, most of this is true, by the way. So like now the conversation in the car's gotten really awkward. We actually got to the school. I got to get out of the car finally, say goodbye to Dad. I go in, and what did I do? What every guy does at 7th grade dances. I stood in the corner with my guy friends the whole night, being a wallflower. Certainly didn't talk to any girls. But then the DJ announced last song, and I panicked because Dad's going to come get me later, and he's going to want to know if I danced with a girl and followed all his advice. And if I lie to him, he'll know. He just always could tell if I was lying. So in my panic, I revert back to his advice and I scan the crowd and I'm looking for a girl that's all by herself. And there she is, right? It's like this magical movie moment. The light's shining down on her. She's real pretty. I'm going to go over. I check my collar. I check my breath, but I can't hide it. You know what I mean? My heart is just pounded in my chest. And I get over to her. My thoughts are a big jumbled mess. And then I said to her, hey, I'm not the best looking guy in here tonight, but I am the only one who has to take a poop right now. Boom. First joke I ever wrote. It's not bad.
That's pretty good, Jeremy.
Yeah. So the only part of that story that's really not true is the conversation happened in my bedroom, not in the car, but all the things he told me to do are true. And I actually did dance with a girl. My babysitter was there. She asked me to dance with her. So I did dance with my babysitter. Yeah. Awkward in hindsight.
Mm.
I thought you were gonna say it was my mom, not my dad, that told me the story. I thought that was gonna be the twist.
You get older and you realize like all those times my dad was just, he knew how awkward the situations were because he had been through them. So he was just messing with me.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. He comes to the, I don't do him anymore, but he used to come to the shows. And it's funny because he'd be in the audience,
Did you ever point him out? Were you ever like, and my dad right there?
Yeah. Yeah, he had done stand up back when he was a soldier over in Germany, like doing like talent shows for the on base or whatever. But he would come out and he'd be like, I'm not a stand up comic, I'm a sit down comic. And he'd have a toilet for a prop and he'd sit on the toilet and he would tell like, dirty jokes for 10 minutes. Dirty jokes are so easy to write, but clean comedy is a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
So when you watch a comedian like Brian Regan, Jerry Seinfeld, just anybody who famously is kind of clean, it's really hard to be very funny and clean. Yeah. Brian,
What about Joey? Does Joey have any jokes for us? I've been
got
like
jokes.
hankering to hear some jokes. Joey.
Oh my goodness. I'll tell a story. It's not really funny. It's just interesting. Did any of you ever watch Friends?
yeah.
Have you ever seen the episode where Rachel finally finds out that Ross likes likes her, and he's in
Mhm.
Japan, and
Mhm.
she's on a date at the time, and
Mhm.
she's thinking about him. The guy she was on the date with, the actor, was also a comedian, and he lived in North Carolina, and his daughter wanted to become a comedian. She was 12 at the time. So, like, there were many times I followed her. They would bring her in to the open mic nights, and it was at a comedy club where they sold alcohol. So she could only be in the club when she was doing her time. So when it was her turn, they would go and get her from the lobby. She'd come up, do her time, and then leave. So I followed her many, many times. But yeah, when I moved up here, my first day was on campus working was October the 30th, 2015. And it was the day before Halloween. It was a Friday. They wanted me, I started work on Friday so they could get me on the payroll so it wouldn't be almost a month before I got paid. So I'm going around and Alyssa's showing me around the different things. And uh, like the first two people I meet are Michelle Bladen, officially, who's dressed. She told me now that she never said that, but I swear she did. She told me she was dressed as a pregnant nun, and she was. And Eric Clark, who had his whole head painted and was painted like death, I think from like the Bill and Ted, the Bogus Journey movie.
Mhm.
And I'm going around and I'm telling people, I'm like, all right, I'm from North Carolina. I've never been in Maine before. You make fun of me if you want to, but what can I expect living in Maine? And they said, winter is coming. And I said, oh, like the Game of Thrones, like they say on Game of Thrones. And they're like, do they say that on that show? That is true. Yeah. But you come like from North Carolina. If you're coming from South Carolina into North Carolina, you'll see North Carolina, go turn this way if you want to go to Charlotte, turn this way if you want to go to Wilmington, keep straight if you want to go to Raleigh. You come from New Hampshire, it just says Maine.
Yep.
That's all it says. Yeah. So yeah. Jeremy, what was the show that you did across the street? Because I remember your dad being there and you telling those jokes.
Oh, the Bangor Region Leadership Institute would do fundraisers, and the annual comedy show was their big fundraiser. So my father was on the committee.
Yeah.
And so they used to just hire people through Rob Steen, who's a comic wrangler out of Manchester, New Hampshire. And they decided one year to just bring me in and have me do it. And because I just had access to most of the comedians doing comedy in Maine. And every show that we ever did, that went so well. The Hilton gave him a really good rate. Yeah, man, we brought in Ray Harrington, who's a local Maine guy, a local Bangor guy. Actually, he was on Conan like the month before COVID hit. And then COVID hit and like comedy stopped, and poor Ray, all the momentum Ray had built is now gone. Yeah, we brought in Kelly McFarland.
What was his last name? Sorry, Jeremy. What was
Ray
that?
Harrington. Ray Harrington.
I feel like I've heard of Ray Harrington before.
Yeah, Ray had a documentary on Hulu called Being a Man, where Ray did like, he found out his wife was pregnant and they were having a boy. And so Ray had never had a dad, not really. He was raised by, I think, his mother and a bunch of aunts. So Ray was like, what's it going to be like to be a traditional father? So he goes and like, he does boxing with a former heavyweight champion. And boy, he gets beat up pretty good. But he also drives like a race car, and he does all these like manly things. And it's just fun to watch Ray experience. Ray's like 6'5", 300 pounds. He's just a big guy, And so to watch Ray do all these things awkwardly because he had never done anything kind of like that before it's funny. And he just did a limited television show called Independent. It was like a pilot, but they did like 4 or 5 episodes, and it didn't get picked up, but it ran on YouTube, and it got nominated for some like a film festival. I don't know, he's an excellent comedian. If you ever see his name somewhere and you're like, oh, Ray's in town, you should go see Ray. Yeah. I got a joke here about I performed once on St. Patrick's Day or near St. Patrick's Day, And I said, St. Patrick's Day is not my favorite drinking holiday. My favorite drinking holiday is Easter. And everyone's like, what? What does he mean? I'm like, well, what I do is I get drunk the night before and I hide the eggs. That way in the morning, I don't know where they are. Boom. That's an original. I wrote that one. What's up?
Also a good idea. I mean, that's pretty clever if you do want to participate in your own Easter Sunday search. Oh.
Yeah. Easter bunny. Yeah.
I'm
Brian,
gonna go back to finding my turkeys.
no.
And,
You got to do a head count, Karen, right?
Yeah, I'll count them
Keep
all
track.
and let you know. But have a good weekend, everyone.
You too,
Bye,
Karen.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Why not tell? It's not necessarily, it's just I don't know if Kylie's interested in never being a comedian, but I can talk about how I got into comedy. I mean, some people always just enjoy being a funny person or being the funny person in the room. I was class clown. That's probably not much of a surprise. But I'd always wanted to do stand-up, but I had no idea how I ever would have done it. Back when I was stationed at Fort Drum, New York, there's a comedy club near the base right on the edge of Lake Ontario called the Lake Ontario Playhouse. And they just do like touring comedians come through there. Never anybody like super famous, but like, just regular touring comedians go through there. And I loved going to those shows. And before the show, they'd have an open mic contest and you could get up and tell a street joke. And I would always get up and tell, whatever random dirty street joke I knew at the time. And I won, I went 20 times. I won like 15 of them. And you just kind of get to thinking like, I like doing this, And so after the show, you'd pick the era of the comedians. But I never really did anything with it until 2009. My friend Eric had moved out to Arizona. He had lost his job. And being unemployed, he said, F it, I'm going to try something I've always wanted to do. He wanted to be a comedian. He took a joke writing class, entered an open mic contest, won it, and he got to open for David Spade at a local comedy club. And then, so now Eric has the bug and he wants to do this a lot more and eventually moved back to Maine. And what we agreed was that I would be his agent and that I would call around to different clubs and get him on stage by just pretending that he was this regular touring comedian, and it worked. So I got Eric perform, but Eric, in hindsight at the time, Eric's skill level was not where it needed to be. Not to be like a regular touring comedian, but it didn't matter. We got him on stage and I would get a cut of his shows. And then we wanted to do this like a local show. So this is 2009. So we decided to do an event we call the Comedy Riot, based off of some show out of Boston that Eric had heard of. And we hired 7 comedians. And Eric was going to host it. And we took advantage, we cashed in every personal favor anybody ever owed us. And so we got a full page coverage on the Bangor Daily News. My cousin Matt, who's a graphic designer and photographer, he's the voice of Darlings. If you ever heard Darlings commercials, that's my cousin Matt. Matt he did an amazing poster for us, great photo of Eric. So full page in the Bangor Daily. The Main Edge interviewed us and did a big thing. And before we knew it, we sold at $15 a piece. We sold 400 tickets to this thing for locals to go see comics they'd never heard of. I mean, all the comics had friends or whatever that bought tickets, but of course we don't have like a ticketing service. So I'm meeting people under the Union Street Bridge, by Carolinas because you just got to meet them somewhere. I'm like, I don't know, you know where Carolinas is? I'll meet you at Carolinas. In hindsight, it's under a bridge. Anyway, I'm selling people tickets. We're selling them at the door. And so that was $6,000. Our expenses were $1,000. So we made $5,000. I'm like, we got to do this more. And I'm like, I'm tired of paying other people to host. I'm going to host. So at the time there was an open mic in Bangor. I started going to the open mic, and that joke about the school dance, originally I used to tell the story as it truly happened because it's funny. And then eventually you find points where you're like, oh, I could kind of tweak it here, tweak it there. And, the best joke I ever wrote is about Baywatch. And I could tell it, I can tell it using innuendo, which is still funny. So I don't have to say any of the dirty words in it or whatnot, but I don't know. I'm not going to go to Kylie's level of comedy. So I'm doing these open mics, and then we're still doing shows. We're doing comedy riots. We're doing one in Lincoln. We did one in Portland. We did one in like Waterville. We would just we would rent venues and sell tickets, and we would do them as BYOB. So like the one in Lincoln, we got 200 people to come at $15 a pop, BYOB. You know, that's $3,000 minus expenses. So we were making money. And every show I would host, and before you know it, like you started written more jokes, you're getting more confidence. Before you know it, you're no longer the host, you're the act before the headliner. I never worked my way up to headliner. I just didn't have enough material, strong enough material, enough command of the stage. There's really a difference in being a headliner and having that level of command. And so before you know it, I'm traveling all over Maine. I'm telling jokes, the same 10 minutes of fart jokes, you know, to crowds. And I go from like getting paid like, oh, we'll pay you in beer. You can have like a $20 beer tab to like, I don't know, here's $400 to do 15 minutes. You're like, all right, it's not bad. Then eventually you just kind of like, writing jokes is so tedious and such a labor for me. I did not enjoy that process. And so eventually I was like, the pressure to like come up with new material and being tired of telling the same jokes all the time. So, all right, I'm out. So that's why I don't do it anymore. We did a show in Bangor at what was it? Who was that organization? The Shriners, the Clowns.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of them knew my mother and from Facebook knew that I did comedy, reached out to me. And before I know it, I'm booking those shows and hosting them. So I'm getting like double the money. I'm bringing in $1,000 headliners like Ray Harrington and Kelly McFarland. And one of those shows, we did a joke telling contest and only 2 people entered. And it was Joey and this other lady. And this other lady told a story that was, I don't know, it was kind of funny, but it was like kind of like the jokes I told earlier. It was a little bit all over the place. It was kind of messy. And Joey did like, you know, scripted humor with like beats to it and like, you know, laughs to it. Joey did like traditional stand-up. Joey was clearly the better comedian. And but the performers, they felt guilty like giving all the money to one person. So they decided to split the money
We
evenly.
split the money. Yep.
Yeah. So Joey still got $100, but he should have gotten $200. Because it was like Kelly, the headliner comedian was like, she's like, oh yeah, Joey was the comedian. I'm like, well, you should have given Joey the $200. The other lady did tell a slightly funny story, but it wasn't like scripted humor. That's what we wanted.
Mm.
Oh well.
It was about, she won the motorcycle at the Festival of Trees that the Shriners
Oh, yeah.
does. Yeah.
Boy, that Festival of Trees is something else.
That was an insane night of entertainment in Bangor, because that was the same night that they did the drag show. I think you
Oh,
went to, Tasha. Yeah.
This was like right after I started. I'm sitting here going, I remember this. This
Yeah.
was probably like within a month or two after I started that all this happened, because I remember hearing all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
here's I'm looking through my notes. Here's a joke I wrote. It's about getting married and my wife, and it's about our intimate moments. It's about how, so we I haven't told it in forever, so it'll be a bit choppy, but my wife loves to watch horror documentaries, right? Serial killer stuff on Netflix and Hulu. Like we watch them all. And I think she maybe went too far with it, because one night, you know, we're in bed and she's like, I'll be right back. And she goes into the closet and she comes out and she's got a roll of duct tape and a ski mask on. And she wants me to call her Ted Bundy. You know what I mean? That's about as clean as I can make that joke.
Yeah. You know,
Brian, did Brian have a joke? Sorry, I saw in the chat. Did you have a joke, Brian? I'm dying.
I have one joke that I can never remember, and it's extremely short, and probably Jeremy and Joey both already know it, but maybe not. We'll see. So, do you want to hear a clean joke?
Yeah. Yeah. Kylie told the dirtiest joke you could tell.
Don't
do that.
I took a bath with Bubbles. Do you want to hear it? Do you want to hear a dirty joke?
Yeah.
Bubbles was a clown.
You know, I have heard that. I forgot about it. I like the setup on that one.
Kylie liked that one.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, I know Kylie liked that one.
It was good.
I'm not really sure what I think about that this is being recorded, so I won't go any further with any other jokes that I know, none of which are even remotely appropriate.
I tried writing a joke once that I thought was like, I'll just tell it and you guys, it's not a dirty joke. I'm interested in what you think of it though. So it goes, I'm walking through the mall and I see a tall, skinny black man. And my first thought was that he must be a basketball player. And I'll admit that it's a stereotype. And I felt a little guilty thinking that because there's no reason that he has to be a basketball player, but that's what I thought. Fair or unfair, that's what I thought. I'll admit it. But then in my defense, a minute later, a white guy walked by in sweatpants. And my first thought was that lazy asshole needs to go get a job. So I'm like, we rely on stereotypes all the time. And I have no idea if that guy was a basketball player or not. Not even relevant. But yeah, I did. I thought that when I saw the white guy, I'm like, he must be unemployed. He's walking around in the middle of the day in sweatpants. Which says a lot about what I've been wearing for the last year.
I was just going to say, Jeremy, I feel like that's more of a commentary on all of our choices in the past year since we've not been in social contact with each other. The year of sweatpants, right?
Yeah, you said the sweatpants are the new,
Right.
office decor
Mm-hmm.
for April.
I want to know if Mike has a story for us or a joke. I know you got something, Mike.
Oh yeah, I got plenty of stuff. As far as stories go, my favorite story doesn't even involve me. It actually involves my wife's uncle. So he actually used to be. She's been listening to this whole thing, laughing in the background. So my wife's uncle used to be the director of the Chamber of Commerce in Black Hills, South Dakota. And about 5 years ago, they were having their big summer event. It was on July 4th. And one of the events that he had to MC was the hot dog eating contest. This was like, mid-afternoon, hundreds of people are there. And so he's up on stage. There's 5 different contestants, gorging themselves with hot dogs, just kind of going crazy. He's up there just standing between them, like just talking, announcing, giving people updates on the score. All of a sudden, the guy that he's standing right next to, he starts to choke. And he's like choking and he keeps choking and he dies right there on the stage. And the guy, yeah, I swear. And so the contestant right next to him, he's got his mouth full of hot dogs and he turns to my wife's uncle and goes, "Should I keep eating?"
Do I win automatically?
He died right there on the stage. And then, he didn't keep his job too much longer after that. That was pretty rough. But he told this story like so matter of factly one summer. Like it was like the first time I ever met him. And I like that one.
Oh my gosh.
I think so. While Kylie's joke did violate the premise that we wanted family-friendly material, she is the only student that participated, and so I'm okay with giving her the $50 Amazon gift card.
Oh, I vote 100%.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I'm 100% for Kylie. That was, despite it being not the cleanest joke, definitely a funny joke. So
if we'd had more students, it certainly would have been for original material and whatnot. But Kylie, we do appreciate. So
if you want, I could tell like a story that I think is funny. I
yep.
guess.
Okay, good. That'll be funny. That'll qualify you for the $50. Hit me with your story.
Okay, so this is a true story. So you know how like they say scars have stories, right?
mm-hmm.
So here's the story about how I got the scar above my eye. So I have a scar like right below my left eyebrow, perfectly perpendicular to it. And the story goes back to my freshman year in high school. So we're doing normal gym things at the gym, playing basketball, doing like table tennis, performing circus acts for one of the sections. That was one of our required courses for gym. But so while we're taking a break from the circus acts portion of gym, we're playing table tennis, and I'm playing like, you know, ping pong, stuff like that, with my friend April. And everyone else is like all around the stage doing whatever they're doing, and the stage is like what we use for theater and stuff, so there's like curtains there and stuff. Well, the ping pong ball goes flying off of the table, and I have to go get it. Well, where it ended up going to, it went right underneath the curtain. What I didn't know was that curtain was covering a metal chair.
Hmm.
And so, since I didn't know it was there, I ducked down really fast to go grab the ping pong ball, and I smashed my head on the metal chair.
Ooh, ouch.
Funny thing is, it did not hurt, and I didn't realize like what exactly happened, but I did know that my face was wet, and I didn't know what it was, and I go to check, and it was blood.
Oh, oh.
I'm laughing at your pain, Kylie. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's not the only stupidest thing I've done in high school.
Let's have so given so the person awarding the prize, or Chris Kelly, controls the gift cards, and since Joey works for Chris, Kylie, let's have you get Joey your information so that Chris can get the card out to you.
Yep. Like,
So-
you guys,
So Joey's, I'm not sure, maybe what's the best way to do this? Just have her email you, Joey?
Yeah, just email me, jharris@emcc.edu.
okay, hold on, let me create that.
Yeah,
down.
so send Joey an email, say, hey, it's Kylie Johnson. This is, he'll probably need your address to mail you the gift card.
Yep.
Okay.
And boom, $50. It's to Amazon, so you know, they sell everything.
Yeah,
They sell a t-shirt that says, I won a hot dog contest because the guy next to me died while doing it.
Stop.
They call that a bring back when you reference a prior joke.
That's true.
Always funny.
That's true.
Always funny.
what was the
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for participating. This was, well, we did laugh a bunch. That's true.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
That's what
and
matters, right?
we engaged one student at a
Yes.
nice little cost to the state. We got, come on, the academic dean and the vice president. I don't know, Brian's got like 9 titles. He showed up for this thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right?
Oh, yeah, I have moments when I can be funny, but they usually involve some kind of liquid refreshment that is required beforehand. Like
Mhm.
Funny.
maybe
Brian is one
several.
of Brian's qualities. I'll give him that. Yeah. Yeah. Liz Russell's like sneaky funny.
Oh, yeah.
No, this is great. I'm glad you guys got together. I'm sorry I had to take a phone
Wow.
call, and I've been.
You were here
tied
for
up. I
like
wanted to drop
even
in
10
and-
minutes is more than hurt. You and Karen McGrady, appreciate you stopping by. Tasha and Mike supporting our efforts here. Kylie, congratulations. You're the funniest student at EMCC. You get that title now.
Yay.
Hey.
All right, don't forget to email Joey.
And
All
we
right,
will get
everybody.
that right out to you, Kylie. Yep.
Get home safe, okay? Don't drink and drive unless you're gonna drive someone else's car. All right, see ya.
Bye, everyone.